Ladies and gentlemen, after countless grueling hours of hard work and determination, I am once again back with another list. On this channel, I've only ever given my favorite and least favorite albums and songs, but I've never delved much into film, which is odd considering I'm even more of a fan of cinema than I am of music, but regardless, I'm here now to talk about movies. I'll be ranking every movie I've seen that had its theatrical release in 2025 from worst to best. Going from worst to best means that I will become more and more positive as the video progresses, taking a one-way road from Frown Town to Smile City. This should come sooner than later since I'm usually pretty lenient on films much more than I am towards music. I'll try and avoid spoilers as much as I can, but I'll let you know when one is about to come up. I'm not even sure what I expected going into this, but whatever expectations I did have for this film were very quickly eviscerated, ripped to fucking shreds. If you ever watched or read Stephen King's Misery, this is very similar except nothing happens and the main character is a narcissist. The cinematography of a film is something I often don't complain about since usually it's mid at worst, but it truly is fucking awful here. These disorienting club scenes, especially where the camera spins over and over, go on for so long that it's miserable to sit through. There are countless other examples of shitty kinetic and shot choices, but those are the ones I have the biggest issue with. The Weeknd, shockingly, is not a good actor. And the writing is so bad in this movie that I have to wonder whether Abel acts like this in real life as well. I don't want to get into spoilers too much, but there's a scene later on in the film where Jenna Ortega's character whips out her phone, heads to Spotify, and starts jamming out to The Weeknd's greatest hits, lip-syncing and frolicking around to them. Which is arguably one of the hardest scenes I've had to sit through all year. And that's not even touching on the biggest sin of this film. The main issue I have with it is that it's fucking boring. Nothing happens at all for the first hour. No movement, no plot development. You get a couple sprinkles of information about the characters, but you're ultimately left with more questions than answers, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't work in this context. So by the time you're at the climax of the story, you're already disinterested. There's nothing that would make you want to keep going. I'm going to end my thoughts off here, but if there's one film on this list that I do not recommend watching at all, it would be this one. I think I would rather start cutting myself, at least then I would feel something. Ever so slightly more bearable than Hurry Up Tomorrow is The Strangers Chapter 2, the second installment in Rennie Harlin's relaunch trilogy of The Strangers. Somehow this is actually worse than Chapter 1. I mean, the bar was in hell, and somehow we've stooped below it. This film contains the trope I hate the most in horror films, which is that the story can only progress forward when the characters make the absolute most irrational and dumbest decisions possible. There's a plethora of plot holes, which I won't go into, but will be incredibly apparent when watching, especially during the scenes that take place inside the hospital. Minor spoiler here, skip ahead a few seconds if you want to avoid it, but there's also this laughably bad scene where a fucking boar comes out of nowhere and starts to attack Maya. It's a mess. Madeleine Petsch is not a bad actor, but it's tragic that they keep casting her in such shitty roles. Tell me, when will you be mine? Listen, I've heard your complaints about this film. And don't get me wrong, this movie sucks ass. This movie is not good on any objective metric, not good in any way, shape, or form, but I can at least appreciate how fun this movie is to watch. Objectively speaking, this movie is definitely the worst on the list, but I would rather watch this a million times over than the previous two. Where do I even begin with this? Firstly, this thing is just one huge advertisement. If the product placement alone didn't make it blatantly obvious, then the Amazon delivery drone inclusion at the end certainly will. The film looks horrible. The plot is as dry as it can get, but the biggest issue, and also the saving grace of this film, is the acting. Ice Cube gives one of the worst performances I've seen this year, if not the worst. It's so bad it's almost comical. I highly recommend this movie. If you appreciate high-quality slop like I do, then I think you should enjoy your time with this. Tell me quando. That final action sequence with the plane landing is one of the funniest things I've seen all year. The movie is obviously a mess, but there are a couple moments where I chuckled a bit, got a hoot and holler out of me. Other than that, it's just not very good. I really don't know what else to say about that one. No, we can share a love. The most forgettable Disney movie you could possibly imagine. Gal Gadot is in this, for some reason. Lovely to see her phenomenal performance. I mean, this just loses so much of the charm and even major plot devices that the original story had. I'm gonna real quickly touch on the elephant in the room here. I don't hate race swaps in a work of fiction. I'm mostly indifferent towards them. But when the race swap in question contradicts the identity of a character, that's when I take issue. Snow White's skin should be white as snow, her lips as red as blood, and her hair as black as ebony, so casting Rachel Zegler for that role just doesn't make any sense to me. Shout out Rachel Zegler though. I don't really have a problem with her performance, I just think that maybe she wasn't the role for this. Regardless, my main complaint is just how forgettable this movie is. There's really nothing interesting going on. The use of the poison apple is fucking atrocious. They might have well just left it out entirely. I don't know. It's not the worst thing ever, but there's just nothing interesting happening here.
Divine. Please don't make me.
$300 million spent on this. This is based off of the dystopian Simon Stålenhag novel, and though I haven't read it, I've heard that it's meant to be actually dystopian and terrifying in the way it portrays its world. This film certainly does not do that. In fact, it reads more like a comedy, and of course with the Russo brothers, you have to make everything look as epic and exciting as possible. But in the process of doing so, they make something that's so creatively bankrupt, I wouldn't be surprised if ChatGPT had its hand in this. This really just isn't worth your time, and certainly not worth your money.
Wait again. When will you?
Funniest part about this movie is that it's not even the worst in the franchise. This is just kind of boring, for the most part, outside of the occasional, somewhat funny moment. I especially hated the ending. I don't remember why, but I just remember it pissing me off. It's forgettable, it's a slog to sit through. There isn't much else I have to say about it.
Say yes to me. Tell me.
It's tragic what they're doing to this series. I hope it gets better. I really do, because outside of a few interesting moments, this is every bit as dull as the other movies on this list. I didn't think it would be much worse than the first film, and while it wasn't much worse, it certainly didn't improve on anything. I feel like there's not enough love put into this, and I don't really blame the actors and actresses for that, but given how extensive and brutal the lore of the games can get, each passing film feels like a wasted opportunity. Sadly not feeling this one. Why even have Red Hulk in the movie if you're going to underutilize him? I don't get it. Even as people who are huge fans of the comics, do people not see the issue with remaking films we have seen in the past and just making them significantly shittier? This is the Winter Soldier again, but worse and with far less interesting characters. I don't know, man. I'm tired.
You mean happiness to me.
The definition of a 5 out of 10 movie. You couldn't write a more mediocre film if you tried. This plot is so fucking predictable, you could watch the trailer and immediately know the beginning, middle, and end of the film. There's not very many things in here that are bad, per se, but there's also nothing to look forward to. It's empty, it's hollow, it's devoid of purpose. The soundtrack also sucks ass, which definitely doesn't help. They never should have brought back this series.
Oh my love, please tell me when.
Okay, look, admittedly, this is one of those films that try too hard to be edgy with their humor, and there's crude dick and sex jokes strung about like paper angels, but there's actually some pretty funny moments here. This animation is shockingly great. I don't know why we couldn't have used these resources to make something better, but I digress. I don't know, in comparison to everything I put below this on the list, this is significantly more watchable to me.
Oh my love, please tell me when.
I was forced to watch this movie sitting in the very front row of the theater, so perhaps that soured my feelings on it before I could even see it, but I remember thinking the film was just kind of mediocre. I guess it could be worse, but like, why? What's the point? I'm curious if David Koepp was on a time crunch writing this. I mean, he's very clearly capable of so much more. Dinosaurs, though, right? Please stop making these.
Every moment's a day.
What's the point of making an Until Dawn movie if you're not going to base it off the games? If you're unaware, Until Dawn is a game where your decisions or indecisions can result in the death of every single character in the game. So knowing that you're making a movie supposedly based on the game where your decisions matter and are very important and integral to the survival of the characters in which you play, why would you make a time loop movie out of that? I don't know. It's just an okay horror movie. Some of the kills are kind of cool, but I'm mostly numb. At least Odessa Zion is here.
Every day seems a lifetime.
Speaking of time loops, we have Happy Death Day director Christopher Landon here with an okay thriller. Not a terrible concept. There are some cool moments. The ending is solid, but the midsection of this film is generally disinteresting. Not much else to say here either.
Let me show you the way.
Now, we are finally at a point in the list where I can start speaking a bit more positively. These next few films won't be super positive, but there were more things here I liked than not. First up is, of course, the Minecraft movie, which, despite being overwhelmingly stupid, is really not that bad. I think most people would dislike this film because of the writing, because of its humor, but I like this type of humor, so it worked for me. I don't know. I don't have that many issues with it. I think it's fun.
To a joy beyond compare.
A wild ending. Some really clever stylistic choices, and the horror aspect of this isn't that bad. I love the concept and the performances. Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers are both excellent, but I feel like something is missing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I feel like this could have been so much better. In fact, I really don't know why this wasn't great, considering Jordan Peele might have had a hand in here and at least backed the film. Still, it's solid, and I think it might be worth a watch for you, especially if you're a big fan of football.
I can wait a moment.
As blatantly anti-capitalist as you can get, though I don't think the blatancy is necessarily a bad thing, I enjoyed my time with this. Will Poulter is such a fucking asshole in this movie, and at some point the bit of him being an asshole got a bit exhausting, but most of the time it hits. It's meant to be a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's like the Minecraft movie in that respect, and if you go in knowing that, you might enjoy this.
Tell me quando.
This was fun. Shout out Josh Rubin. This is like an unhinged, slightly more horny Scream movie, but unlike I Know What You Did Last Summer, there are quite a few moments that are funny and enjoyable. There's not much to say here without spoiling some of the best bits, so I'll leave it at that.
Say it's me.
Okay, this movie is good. I don't have a ton of complaints, but this is literally just a worse version of the original. I mean, it's basically a one-to-one copy of the animated film, and so I really don't see the point in making this if there's nothing new that they're going to add. That said, I don't regret watching it. Again, the film is good. It's pretty hype. I don't know, maybe I feel like this releasing actually undermines the work of the original. You're better off redrawing that movie and calling it How to Train Your Dragon Remastered or something.
That you adore. And then
I really wanted to love this. I wanted to love this so much more than I do, but sadly I don't, and I can't pinpoint an exact reason for that. Perhaps I think the dialogue could be more impactful. What I will say is that, as many other people have pointed out, Eva Victor has already proven herself as more than capable of controlling tone very well. I think the performances are great, but I guess I was hoping for something more from the dialogue. I think for me to get into a film like this, the writing really has to hit home for me. And I don't know, I'm not really loving that part. I wish I had more to say here. But still, this is a very good debut, and I think that with a bit more polish, she could make something truly special.
darling, tell me when.
More anti-capitalism. If you couldn't tell from the title alone, this film isn't anything to be taken too seriously. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and I think a lot of the jokes here land. It's honestly a really solid slasher. If you're in the mood for some blood and gore, this isn't a bad place to go. Yeah, so I actually forgot to write something about this one, so I'm just kind of freeballing it. This was fun action movie. It's cool. I like Jack Quaid quite a lot. Cool guy. Fun guy. He's good in this movie, too. It's a solid movie all around. It's fun. A lot of cool kills. Fun movie. A lot of it's pretty good. Here's another movie I desperately want to love. I want to see in it what everyone else does, but with how boring a lot of it is, I wanted this to be a gritty, dirty, filthy horror film, but it's only like that occasionally. The Alpha is a fantastic antagonist, and he's so underutilized here. Give him more scenes! Show that dick some more. Make him rip someone else's spine directly out of their body. I also, again, feel like something else is missing. Maybe I'll rewatch this after I see the second film and my opinion will change, because right now I'm just a little disappointed. A solid next step in the MCU, no pun intended. I love how this movie is stylized. The aesthetics are great, especially in the first half. Part of me wishes that they would have held on to that aesthetic for a bit longer, but it kind of falls off after the beginning. My main complaint with this film is definitely the final act. Thought the ending was very anticlimactic and predictable, and when you're dealing with an antagonist as grand and immensely powerful as Galactus, I feel like you need a bit more than that. I also wish that Ben was used more, because the scenes with him in it are definitely my favorites. Still, good movie. I'm a bit conflicted here. I love films that do weird shit, even if it's merely for the sake of being weird, and there's a lot of that here. The sheer number of strange, unusual, and uncomfortable scenes and dialogue choices is a bit overwhelming, and at some points becomes exhausting. A good portion of the film is mundane, a snooze fest, which certainly doesn't help. However, there are three things that I especially love about this movie. First, this film is very well shot. The aspect ratio helps it out, of course, but I really do love the cinematography. Also, the way this film tackles motherhood, the struggles of motherhood, and postpartum depression are interesting. It makes you sit and stew in the uncomfort, and after a while you start to feel exactly how Grace is feeling. This repetitive depressive loop often comes at a fault, but it's something to admire nonetheless. And obviously, Jennifer Lawrence is fucking amazing. Maybe the most uncomfortable performance I've seen this year, and I mean that as a compliment. But those are my thoughts. I might need to rewatch it to decide whether I love it or hate it more, but I'm fine leaving it here for now.
Every moment's a day.
Celine Song doesn't do a great job of getting her main point across about class, considering how one-note Chris Evans' character is in this film, but that doesn't mean this isn't a joy to watch. I love the dialogue, I think it's consistently pretty funny, and Pedro Pascal is back. I believe the commentary on dating dynamics and the current dating scene is the major strong point of the movie. Nothing crazy here, but not much for me to dislike either besides what I mentioned at the beginning. The worst John Wick movie for sure, but it is a John Wick movie. I'm not as in love with the world of John Wick in this, not nearly as enamored with it as I have been with the previous 4 installments in the series, but I still love the action sequences. I think Ana de Armas does a great job as Eve, and it's just an overall really well-made action movie. I think it's worth your time. Very rarely in any franchise does a sequel or reboot that comes out several years after the previous film do well at all, especially not in horror. Yet Zack and Adam have pulled off a miracle and somehow managed to make the best in the series. The kills on this are great, like really, really creative and well done. Takes a second for the film to catch its footing, but once it does, it's great. I actually wouldn't mind seeing more of this series now. Great job. Osgood Perkins really impressed me with Longlegs, so I was looking forward to this one, and it delivered. It's silly, wacky, goofy, gory, and a tad nasty, and I think he did Stephen King justice. This is everything I wanted it to be and more. I was deep in the Dogman lore back when they first started being sold at the book fair when I was in 4th grade. So much fun. Animation is amazing. I don't know, there's not much to analyze here, I just had a blast watching it. Zootopia is low-key on God, one of the best animated films I've ever seen, and I mean that wholeheartedly. And while the sequel doesn't do what the first does in a very unique way, or change the formula up that much, it's hard not to love this. I'm just waiting for the Hops X Wild fanfic to make it to the silver screen. Screwball comedy at its best. Michelangelo Covino is not only great in the film, but considering this is his debut narrative, I'm super impressed. Hilarious bits of crude, dry humor hang around this film like Christmas lights. Easily one of the best comedies of the year.
Say it's me that you adore.
I have one major complaint with this movie, and it's the problem that most other people have. This film spends like the first 45 minutes to an hour giving Naruto flashbacks and a recap of the previous movie, as if the people going into this wouldn't have saw the first one. With that in mind, the ending of this movie is fucking awesome. I love the final act. A fantastic closer to this series. Of course, I'm a little slut for Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible as a whole, so I'm partially biased, but I really did love this.
And then, darling, tell me when.
Not every joke lands, but there is a heaping handful of great bits. A lot of the comedy in The French Dispatch fell short for me, and although this one takes some time to really get going, this is great. The running gag of the hand grenade is also the type of thing that makes Wes Anderson stand out as a writer, and that Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks bit is amazing. Had a lovely time with this one.
Oh, my darling, tell me when.
It's hard following up the greatest movie of all time, but this is a commendable effort. My GOAT, Bong Joon-ho, comes back with a blatant anti-Trump sci-fi film with a fantastic cast of characters. Robert Pattinson has a new accent now, very cool. It's nice to see Bong challenge himself with another English film, and this might actually be his funniest yet. Poggers.
Oh, my darling, tell me when.
Florence Pugh is fucking gorgeous. For a while, I thought the jokes have been stale in the MCU, but they're really good here. Lewis Pullman is a fantastic choice for Void, by the way. I think this is a step in the right direction. We have a good antagonist, some characters that are dysfunctional but likable, some great and even some downright horrifying action sequences too. This makes for a really enjoyable film.
Oh, my darling, tell me when.
God, this movie's so fucking weird, and I really, really love that. I really wish I had the chance to see this in theaters. I mentioned in the last video, but I love the new Viagra Boys album, and I feel like this is almost the film equivalent to Cave World. Emma Stone is stellar, as per usual, but Jesse Plemons especially is fucking awesome. How he didn't get an Oscar nomination is beyond me.
My darling, tell me when.
I'm so glad that Trachtenberg cares about this universe. A lot of the shot choices are beautiful, as is the set design and the world in which the Yautja reside, of course. I have a soft spot for extreme wide shots of any sort of terrain, and there's quite a bit of that here. Even though there's nothing super innovative or boundary pushing, it's hard not to appreciate this if merely as an incredibly well-made action-adventure movie. There's this easy-to-digest theme of acceptance of other species and sort of selflessness that I think even younger kids could understand, so maybe if you're a parent, show this to your kids. They'll probably enjoy it.
Tell me when will you be mine?
Spoilers here, might be spoilers, possible spoilers, I don't know. Two major flaws with this movie. One, this film is carried by the Akaza vs. Giyu and Tanjiro fight. Like, the other fights don't even come close, with one of them being the most underwhelming bullshit, like, oh, you thought I only knew one move? Well, I made my own, kablam! And off goes the head of one of the main enemies. In fact, he's the main enemy in Zenitsu's storyline, just gets completely wiped off the fucking map. There's no depth, which was absolutely warranted for Kaigaku. Secondly, this is flashback hell at some points, almost Shippuden level, which is something I'm really not a fan of at all. That being said, that Akaza fight, along with his backstory, is not only one of the most hype, well-animated sequences in the whole series, it's emotionally captivating too. That fight alone makes this film worth seeing. It really is that good. And it should come as no surprise this film is very well animated too. Maybe the best animation we've seen in the show so far, given the higher budget. I think making this final arc into a 3-film series might actually work pretty well for them too. I just hope the Doma fight is good.
Tell me quando.
I have absolutely zero problem putting this film up so high. Not an ounce of shame in my body. K-pop Demon Hunters is incredible, and I will gladly die on that hill. Love, love, love this movie. Love the soundtrack. I heard a lot of people complaining about Soda Pop, and while it's definitely my least favorite, I still think it works in the context of the film. I mean, I don't even know if I have much else to say other than that this is really fucking good. And considering I went into this fully expecting to hate it, that means a lot.
We can share a love divine.
I'm not big into racing. In fact, I went into this knowing jack shit about Formula 1, but I do know about my GOAT Brad Pitt. The demanding 2.5-hour runtime had me a bit worried too, but the pacing here I thought was excellent. Also, and this is no small feat, this is some of the best, if not the best, race car footage I've ever seen. I mean, my god, you could not get more hype than this. It helps that the score is fucking incredible, composed by the one and only Hans Zimmer. Damson Idris also has one of the best performances of the year, too. Perfect casting choice having him in here. I'm unfamiliar with his other films, but maybe I'll have to get into them. Overall, I give this one 2 big thumbs up.
Please don't make me wait again.
Another film based off a Stephen King story, this time with a very interesting reverse chronological order structure that's a drama showcasing love and loss just as much as it is a mystery movie. I went into this completely blind and was blown away. I felt so warm, so filled with hope. I feel the need to dance with this movie. That's great. I want to dance now. I wanted to get out of the theater and start booking around. Watch this. Go in blind like I did. It's worth your time.
When will you say yes to me?
I hate the discourse around this movie for a few reasons that I'll briefly touch on. A major point of contention, and a reason why a lot of people dislike this film, is because they feel it tries too hard to play both sides, stating that Ari Aster is playing this as a disgusting centrist, with some believing that he's giving far too much credit to the right-wingers. This just feels like a misread of the film to me, especially when there's clearly more disdain for the Republican, anti-mask, right-wing conservative circle, whatever you want to call it. Another thing is that he doesn't touch on MAGA specifically outside of like one dialogue tree, basically brushing them off as if that wave of lunatics weren't a major part or at least amplifier of the bigoted post-lockdown COVID political discourse. While I guess I can understand this point, I don't think Aster needs to go into that. This is art, not a final paper. He doesn't have to examine every point in order to get his own perspective across, which is what it seems like he's doing here. The film is dialed in on a specific issue, or I guess set of issues, and I think that works really well. Is the film meant to be provocative? For sure. But this is executed very well, and so I guess I don't necessarily see the issue here. Hunky Monkey Pedro Pascal is back, his 3rd time being on this list, and he's great.
Tell me quando.
I feel like this isn't getting the appreciation it deserves. While there are certainly some cliched themes, and the film doesn't go about tackling grief and the cycle of trauma in an entirely new way, I still feel like the message is potent. Even brushing aside the themes, this is fantastic horror. Reka Reka's debut Talk to Me was already a good indicator that they would do great things given the financing to birth their ideas, but it's even stronger now. They become methodical and foreboding with their scares, and I believe that works really well for them. I love to see what they come out with next.
You mean happiness to me.
God, I love a good Soderbergh movie. When I said that David Koepp is capable of so much more as a writer, this is what I meant. The dinner scenes, especially the first one, are so funny, so memorable. I probably need to rewatch this because I'm struggling to recall specifics, but just know that this is very good.
Oh, my love, please tell.
I've rewatched it. I still agree with it. I sincerely, wholeheartedly believe that the Denji vs. Reze fight is one of the best fights ever animated. Words cannot express how fucking impressive that fight is. Not just on a technical, like, purely animation level, but creatively, too. Fujimoto is showing his hand now. The characters are, through tragedy, beginning to show some depth and signs of character progression. Anime doesn't usually make me laugh either, but this movie is very funny. Beam is such a cool character. There's so many things I want to mention for this, but don't want to get too into spoilers, so I'll leave it there. I'm in love with this series now, and I know the production of this film is the reason why we've gone so long without a season 2, but I'm happy to wait, considering how high quality this was.
Tell me when.
The best Superman movie, and it's really not close. With James Gunn at the helm, I am finally excited to see some live-action DC movies. 2021's The Suicide Squad blew me away, and this film is of a similar level of quality. For a while, a lot of superhero movies didn't feel like superhero movies for one reason or another, but this feels like a core, genre-defining hero film. You have an excellent set of antagonists. Great job picking Nicholas Hoult as Lex, by the way, he's great. You have an excellent list of side characters. Seeing Guy Gardner for the first time is awesome. Seeing Hawkgirl is amazing, but Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, Mr. Terrific is so cool in this movie. I really don't think you could have made him look any cooler. Give him his own movie already. I also don't even need to mention that David Cornsweet is a good soup. The Israel-Palestine conflict commentary with some digs at Netanyahu, The Real Winter Coat, and Crypto are 3 more reasons why I loved this.
Romance a day.
Put some fucking respect on Zach Krieger's name. Funny, witty, scary, weird. Emphasis on weird, because weirdness and horror is something that I'm especially a fan of, and I love it here. An amazing performance by Julia Garner, but my god, I don't see how people were upset over the Amy Madigan Oscar nomination. She very much deserves it for this movie. Gladys is such an amazing antagonist. Everyone else on the cast is great too. I really do love all of the characters, but I think Cary Christopher, considering how young he is, does an especially fantastic job playing Alex. Hugs and kisses around the board. Love the ending too.
Day seems a lifetime.
I haven't seen a promotional build-up to a movie be this hype in years. I'm not sure when they're going to add White Boy of the Year as a category for the Academy Awards, but Timmy deserves a #1 spot. This is Josh Safdie's first film since he and his brother split and went solo a while back, and it's marvelous. The score for this movie is beautiful, possibly even the best of the year. I love how the Safdie brothers introduce anxiety into their films, because this is almost just as exhilarating as Uncut Gems was, which is massively impressive. Also, and I may be wrong here, but I believe this is Tyler the Creator's first actual acting performance. He's done some voice work and showed up as a surprise appearance in Jackass, but from what I know, this is the first time he's acted as an important character. Either way, he is really, really good here. Same with Kevin O'Leary, who was a surprise appearance for me since I didn't know anything about this film before going into it. But my god, what a performance from him. He's great at playing the asshole, perhaps due to all the method acting he's been doing. Regardless, I really, really love this film and highly recommend it.
Let me show you the way.
Bong Joon-ho is incredible. Same with Kim Ji-woon. Same with Na Hong-jin. But if there's one director who I can confidently say is the best to ever do it in South Korea, that would be Park Chan-wook. I think even people who aren't too tapped into the production side of movies will be thoroughly impressed by how creative and good-looking the shot choices, transitions, and superimpositions are in this movie. Some of these I've never even seen before. Park is known for his absurd situations and unhinged characters and decisions in his films, and you see that in all its glory here. I don't want to spoil this one. Just go into this blind and you'll love it.
To a joy beyond compare.
I love Knives Out. In fact, it was at one point my favorite mystery film ever, and it still is very high up on that list. Glass Onion, the second installment in the series, was fantastic as well, so of course when I heard about a third movie, I was excited. I thought I would love it. I did not expect to love it just as much as the first, however. Brilliantly written, Josh O'Connor is amazing. I love the digs at Trump and of Christianity as an institution. Also, this movie looks great. It is beautiful. All the sets and locations they choose are flawless. In my eyes, Rian Johnson can really do no wrong. If he wants to make 30 more Benoit Blanc mysteries, I will watch all of them in awe.
I can wait a moment more.
I didn't expect the amount of hype this movie was getting, but it is very much deserving of all of it. After watching the trailer, I expected a gory horror film, not a vampire movie set in the 1930s based around the idea of music being a universal language of love, creative expression, theft, and evil simultaneously, but I can't say I'm mad. Seeing a completely original IP by a black director with a predominantly black cast do this well in the box office is incredible. I hope Coogler is a trailblazer, and this new wave of auteurs being provided the means to express their ideas instead of submitting to mere sequels and remakes of films that came years before them. The scene where the cultures and time periods start to blend together in the barn is one of the most brilliant scenes to come from last year, and I'm overjoyed at the fact I got to experience it in IMAX.
Tell me quando.
This movie is fucking wild. A 2-hour and 40-minute runtime, and yet I don't think there was a single moment where I wasn't glued to the screen. There are like 1,000 moving parts, all of which work beautifully together. I definitely need to rewatch this one to pick up on things that I missed. This was my film of the year immediately after viewing it, and if it weren't for the one that comes next on this list, it still would be. Thrilling, electrifying performances across the board. The Christmas Adventurers Club is such a unique and interesting medium to tackle white supremacy and institutionalized racism with. There are so many great shot choices, one of my favorites being a wide shot that's framed like a western standoff towards the final act of the film. There's so many things I could say, but I'm just going to leave it at that. If there's only one film I could recommend to everyone on this list, it would be this.
Say it's me that you adore.
When I watch movies for the first time, I primarily look for feeling, for meaning. Of course, that's not to say that I don't take in the shot choices, acting, sound design, pacing, and every other aspect of the film that I can, but the focus is always emotion. Perhaps that's what made this movie so impactful for me, because this is littered with emotion. It's overflowing with this sense of longing, this need for clarity, a lingering sadness that remains robust despite being given years to dissipate. The scene where Nora reads the script is one of the most emotionally impactful scenes I've ever saw. It wasn't a slow build-up either. That shit hit me like a freight train because of the realization. The tension is thick. It's very, very thick. You need a hacksaw to cut it, and even then you'd struggle. I don't even know what else to say. This film is fucking brilliant. Sad, very sad, but brilliant. Joachim Trier has delivered nothing shy of a masterpiece, and I'll leave it at that. And that's the list. Thank all of you for watching. This took an absurdly long amount of time to write about and edit, and I'm of course a couple days late from when I wanted to get this video out, but it's here nonetheless. I'll try and be on time next year. Next video, I'll be talking about